time for Twig This Week in Google. Gina and Jeff are here. We'll have a visit from Kevin Marks, too. This is a non-Skype episode. Skype has failed us, but GTalk to the rescue. It's all coming up. We'll talk about net neutrality and a whole lot more. This Week in Google is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. You'll find all the TWiT shows on your Roku box, Android, and BlackBerry phones, and all Yahoo Widget TVs powered by Mediafly. For more information, visit twit.tv/Mediafly. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 74, recorded December 22nd, 2010. GTalk, FTW. This Week in Google is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off the lifetime of your new account, go to squarespace.com/twig. And when you're ready to buy, use the offer code TWIG. And by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. Don't just sell it, Gazelle it. For a 5% bonus payment for your used gadgets, go to gazelle.com and use the bonus code TWIG when you check out. It's time for Twig This Week in Google with the man in the hat. You look like a confused Shriner, Jeff Jarvis, who, that's your twit hat. I like it.
I love it.
It's very handsome.
It's very
handsome.
attractive. And Gina, I'm sorry that you don't have yours with you.
I feel like going to a convention with other party people and having a lot of drinks and having secret handshakes.
Well, if you did, I would be the grand poobah because, as you can see, mine is taller than all the rest. I have the super twit fez. You know, it's so big we're going to have to zoom out a little bit. There we go.
There you go.
Jeff is the author of What Would Google Do? He also blogs at buzzmachine.com. To his left, hatless, but nonetheless, we're so glad to have her, Gina Trapani.
So sad I'm fezless. I didn't take it on the road. I'm on the road for vacation to see the family, but 2011, I'm rocking the fez.
We'll take it
ready.
off now and make you feel comfortable.
Yeah, we'll take it off. No fezes. This is a
it's
fez.
like, which one of these is not like the other?
Fez-free episode. Well, for many reasons, actually.
Fair enough.
Yes. Great to have you both. The last episode of the year. Next week, we're going to do a best of episode. Our viewers voted on their favorite bits from previous episodes, including some gleeking out.
Awesome.
Some Chipotle.
I cannot wait to see that.
And more. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Let's get to the news, and there's quite a bit of news. I guess the biggest story, and I'd love to get your opinion on it, I know everybody listening would too. Yesterday, the FCC approved a net neutrality regulation that made no one happy. I mean, literally. I don't think anybody liked it. Republicans hated it because it was regulation of the internet. Democrats hated it because it wasn't enough regulation of the internet. Actually, I'll tell you who liked it. Google and Verizon.
No, even Verizon is talking about suing on it. This is bloody Verizon's plan, and Verizon's whining about it.
What? Well, now that's just
They're talking
poor
about
sportsmanship.
suing, isn't it?
On what grounds?
Just because it hurts them.
We don't like it.
No, we want to do whatever we want to do, or we'll take our ball and our wire and we'll go home.
When you land it, when you...
Well, now,
why did I start that? I'm sorry.
Droopy dog moment. To my understanding of what this proposed regulation is that there would be so-called net neutrality enforced on landline internet service providers like Comcast, but not on mobile providers. Did I get that wrong? Isn't Verizon a mobile provider?
Well, that's what's so disgusting about this. But yeah, that was the Sudetenland split that Verizon and Google did.
Right, and in fact, I would say, somebody pointed out, I think it was MG Siegler on TechCrunch, that language that must have come from the Google-Verizon proposed agreement was in there saying, well, Android's open, so you don't have to worry about net neutrality, which makes no sense at all.
No sense whatsoever.
It's crazy.
And what's so
this is basically what they proposed, right? I mean, this is
the Google Verizon deal, is it not?
Yep. Yep.
Google's hands are dirty. Dirty in this. I'm very ashamed of you, Google. And I'm more ashamed, I'm also ashamed of the FCC that they didn't make any of this process open. Oh, yes, we could go. Neil Dash, your colleague, scolded me. Well, did you give suggestions on the site? I don't care. They didn't give us the stuff that we could have argued about and dealt with as it went. Even when they approved the thing yesterday, they didn't make it public what they approved. It's now up online. And I put that up on the.
We'll have to read it though.
Yeah, we got to read this long thing.
It's going to take us a while. Yeah,
but it's just transparent.
A lot of people commented on the website, and Woz, remember, wrote them an 1,800-word email. Public knowledge caught him after the vote. I think he was actually there in the chambers to watch this happen. Steve Wozniak, the founder of Apple and the original geek.
We're here with Steve Wozniak, who's a co-founder of Apple, and we heard from Commissioner Copps that the order didn't go nearly far enough. We heard from Commissioner McDowell that it went much too far. What are your thoughts?
I think it's nice to see people standing up for the people, the consumers, and giving them protections against a lot of big business. I don't think you're going to find hardly any American, aside from a lawyer or somebody who's got a political side, who would ever say that they could trust the actions of the major carriers, the phone companies, the cable companies that we have today. I think pretty much whenever those companies are given some leeway, we wind up feeling kind of taken advantage of, screwed, given misinformation, deceived about what we're getting versus what we could have gotten. I think that all the comments of the minority side could have been made just as effectively back when AT&T was this awful monopoly that kept us from any innovation in the telephone world, kept anybody from connecting to their lines up to the car division. You could have made those exact statements in that time frame. It works. We got a real success.
Well, he's got a point, but we didn't get quite what we wanted either, and I don't think we have a Carter Vision case. Although maybe if Verizon sues and loses, we'll have the courts behind us.
Well, I don't understand here politically why the FCC, the Democratic commissioners knew the Republicans weren't going to go along. They knew this is going to end up in court anyway. Why didn't they go ahead and push this to its proper definition?
Right.
They said it was a compromise. With whom were they compromising?
Well,
not us.
I hate to say it, but this is how the Obama administration has worked the entire 2 years. They're compromising with straw men who still vote no.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense at all. Gina, you were going to say something?
I'm confused about why Verizon's suing if this is basically what they proposed.
Because they're greedy sons of bitches.
Can we talk about the Android connection? What is that?
By the way, it's Nilay Patel. It's Nilay Patel in Engadget. I want to give credit where credit's due. The paragraph he's talking about, further, this is in the FCC's decision. We recognize there have been meaningful recent moves toward openness, including the introduction of open operating systems like Android. In addition, we anticipate soon seeing the effects on the market of openness conditions we imposed on mobile providers that operate in the upper 700 megahertz C-block spectrum. We, by the way, was Google who insisted on those, which includes Verizon Wireless, one of the largest mobile carriers in the U.S. In light of these considerations, we conclude it's appropriate to take measured steps at this time to protect the openness of the internet when accessed through mobile broadband. When they say measured, they mean none at all.
Measured is none at all. So they're defining openness as absolutely no rules at all. So carriers can do whatever they want.
Well, and Android has nothing to do with it.
It makes no sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. There's no parallel there. I'm still trying to understand what they mean by that. Do they mean that like any manufacturer can do whatever they want with Androids? So we're going to take the same approach with the network to see what happens? I'm confused.
You're not alone.
Okay.
In fact, I mean, I think that maybe it was MG who said this means basically they took the Verizon Google proposal and cut and pasted.
Yeah. Yet here's I just found the reference that I think comes from National Journal through a link here that Verizon is basically questioning whether the FCC has any authority over broadband. So they're going to use this as a chance to sue and say, you can't do anything to us. Nothing.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Jeff filed a Freedom of Information Act petition.
Way to go, Jeff.
Saying we want to see the correspondence between the FCC, Google, and Verizon.
and any correspondence relating to this, and meeting notes and meeting schedules between the FCC and any company, including but not limited to technology companies, Google, and telecommunications companies, Verizon. And we want to open this to this. I filed a FOIA a few years ago with the FCC when it came to them going after so-called indecent programming, finding out that it was very, very few people who complained. And so we'll see what happens here. The government is very good at not responding to FOIAs, but this is ridiculous that we have no transparency in this process.
And by the way, you say I'm willing to pay up to $250, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
We'll do a fundraiser on Twig.
I think you get enough. I'll promise you whatever amount. But I guess they charge $25 per search item or something.
It should cost nothing because it's for press. We are press.
It should cost nothing is right.
Yep.
I guess so you get a waiver because
that's what you put in an amount, but you also ask
right.
for a waiver. Yeah.
Good. Well, I hope I know that the FCC will pay close attention to this and respond immediately. So what did we get? Did we get true? Let me ask, and I know we're still reviewing this document, which is just now up. Did we get true net neutrality at least for Comcast and the land-based internet service providers?
I can't tell. It has words like no unreasonable discrimination, but what's the definition of unreasonable?
That's kind of a problem, isn't it?
So it says below that pay for priority unlikely to satisfy the no reasonable discrimination rule. I don't know what that means. The double and triple negatives are confusing me in a terrible way. I need my Fez back.
So
if
they go to a provider like Level 3 and say you will have to pay us for priority access to our customers, that, according to this regulation, is a violation of net neutrality.
Here's the sentence. A commercial arrangement between a broadband provider and a third party to directly or indirectly favor some traffic over other traffic ... would raise significant cause for concern.
Yes.
That's a very odd way to write a law. So now the courts can say, well, struck down for being vague.
We're concerned. We're concerned. We're wringing our hands. We're concerned. Doesn't mean we're going to stop you. We're concerned.
Priority would represent a significant departure from historical and current practice.
Let me, though, point out that John Perry Barlow and others, libertarians most, say, well, fine, we don't want any internet regulation. I mean, it's true that I'd hate.
If we had competition, I would absolutely agree. The problem is that this is in lieu of competition. We're stuck with monopolies and duopolies, and when they do violate the market, we have nowhere to go.
Yeah. And there is no competition.
No.
And there is no recourse. And you know, this is the specter that is now raised by this, is a company like Verizon might very well say, well, we'll charge you 10 cents a megabyte if you watch YouTube videos or TWiT, but we won't charge you at all if you watch our own Vcast product.
Right.
Or we could even block YouTube because, well, we have to protect our networks, and people are watching an awful lot of YouTube videos. We know that, in fact, AT&T asked Apple to restrict YouTube videos to 10 or 30 seconds on the iPhone. Apple said, but Apple is in a rare position of power with AT&T. I don't think Motorola or HTC is going to be able to say anything if Verizon goes to them and says, yeah, by the way, no YouTube videos, no TWiT, none of this TWiT crap. Those guys, we don't like those guys. And that's the real problem that this raises.
So I just got this from somebody sent this to me, Fadrinhort on Twitter. The reaction of the telcos. I'll retweet that right now via Engadget. Retweet. And so the Verizon's funny. It says, although we share the FCC with the FCC the overarching goals of an open internet, we are deeply concerned by today's 3-2 decision. Everybody's concerned. We are deeply the ones concerned. Who have the right to be concerned.
This is a smokescreen. They're in secret, opening the bubbly, jumping up and down, wearing funny hats. Yeah. But they have pretending that they're deeply concerned. We won. I'm sorry.
But it's all tied in. Not to get too meta here, but it is tied into WikiLeaks. It is tied into the idea.
Yes, the
of
climate
open and closed networks.
The climate has changed thanks to Julius Assange, and government now is a little bit more. It's a terrorist win kind of thing. They're a little bit more likely to assert control over the internet. They don't, Yeah, that internet. That could be a bad thing.
It is our greatest tool of disruption. Thus, the disruptors will disrupt it.
Right.
They won't let us use it. And I sound like I'm about to start singing the Internationale and go to Woodstock. I know. But you start to believe this, that it is powerful institutions are going to be against this disruptor of power.
And, here's the thing, and this is why it really is a appropriate meat for this show, is I had high hopes that Google, because of their deep-rooted interest in net neutrality, would be fighting on the side of the angels on this. And there was a powerful ally for us, and they've abandoned us.
If anyone was going to do it, right, it would be them.
Right.
It would be Google.
That was it. So we have no institution we can rely on, and we have no organization of the people of the internet to rely on, and so that's somewhat our own fault. And we're going to get hammered.
Happy holidays.
Well,
Sue's the Grinch.
You know what?
Should we do a version of Sue's the Grinch with Google's the Grinch?
You're the
Yes,
mean
we
one.
should.
You're the mean one. Sue's the Grinch. She looked good in green, by the way.
She did. She did.
People are going, what? Wait a minute, what?
All we need is a mention of Chipotle, and we have the show.
Good.
Full circle. I am mad at you guys because I've been craving Chipotle for an entire week.
It worked.
Curse you!
Our plan.
I'm not kidding. It was there's something in there. They coat those chips with crack or something. This is a story that we actually had last week, and I think it's still going on. YouTube said to be in talks to buy Next New Networks, which is the video they're kind of like a video aggregator, except that they produce some
they're
content.
Actually a producer.
Yeah,
they're actually a producer, which I think is, and Fred Seibert, who started it, is a great guy, and the other staff there is great. And so I'm not, I'm all in favor of them getting a good deal, but I think it puts Google in a terrible position of now creating its own content, and they will get accused of favoring their own stuff, which they get accused of anyway. And
no
it
kidding.
doesn't help them in discussions with media.
When asked last month if YouTube would consider acquisitions of web video production companies, Eric Schmidt said, quote, "You never say never. We've tried not to cross that line." But he noted that YouTube had helped finance web video production in the past, but, quote, "to actually own the content is an important decision." He didn't say no. "We're always debating these things," he said. "The good news right now is there's enough of these little digital studios that can raise capital, and they say YouTube is a viable distribution point." By the way, that's what we do. I'm not sure. Why would they even want to buy Next New Networks? They do. They do Auto-Tune the News was out of the Gregory Brothers.
Yeah, they do.
Bed Intruder song. That was the #1 video of the year.
They do the political jokes, and they do the do-it-yourself fashion stuff.
So they do all their content, Next New Networks, or do they aggregate some? And
they hire people to do it.
They hire. So they are basically a production company.
Yeah. Indie Mogul, Fastlane Daily. What's the one that's so great? I'm forgetting it. Darn, I forget the name of it. They do a
Angry
great
Orange, is that theirs? No,
they do a fashion one that's a lot of fun. Not that I would know anything about that. Threadbanger.
I just like the name.
Yeah, it's great. It's how to make stuff yourself. You can tell that's what I do.
So what about this notion that Google does favor its own content? When you do a Google search for a lot of products, what you get is a list of Google stuff first, whether it's YouTube or Places. Isn't that favoring your own content? How is that okay?
Every website links to its own content, and if Google knows that its content knows most about its content, if it thinks that it's the best result, then it should show it. I don't.
Well, Google's
I don't have
not the New York
that.
Times, though. Google's not the Post. It's isn't it a search engine? Isn't it? Different
Isn't that what Yahoo was? Yahoo sends its fire hose, as they proudly call it, to their own stuff.
Well, but I think that's the question. Is Google a content creator or a search engine? If it's a search engine, it needs to be content agnostic.
Yes, Leo, but let's remember that they, not to become the Google defender here, but I've just been kicking them, but that's the rule they came up with. Right? If you look back to what Bill Gross created and Yahoo bought in what's the name of their placed ad structure back in the day,
right.
Search was for sale. Google came along and changed that precedent to decide that it wasn't. The main question for Google, I don't think, is a matter of unfairness to companies. It's a question of their credibility with their users.
Absolutely. I mean, Google's tried to launch like null, right? That's always the thing that I think of when I think of like Google trying to create or host content. And if they were truly being biased, you'd be seeing null pages above Wikipedia pages, but you don't, right? I mean, it's like I trust that they make good decisions about what are the best things to show at the top of results. And you know what? I see Google ads, and those benefit Google at the top of search results, and I accept that. I mean, those are clearly marked, and that's a different story. But for the most part, I'm not worried about Google favoring. I'm not worried about Google favoring its own content. As someone who's run a website for many years and has had great Google placement because it had good content,
right.
They've treated me fairly.
You wouldn't be so happy if Google started a life hacker site, and then every time somebody searched for the best way to take text notes, and their site came up first, though, would you?
Yeah, that would bum me out. If it would, I suppose I'd be up in arms if I felt like the page that they were their own page, if it was worse than Lifehackers or my own blog. That I guess that would upset me. I don't know. I never spend too much time trying to figure out what the SEO algorithms is. But I've had great success with you write good content, it shows up in search results. Period.
Webby in our chat room said, "Yeah, and when you do those Fords ads, Leo, you should also say Chevy's not so bad either." And we do. We're a content creator, so of course we plug our stuff and we refer to our stuff, but we're not trying to be kind of somehow content agnostic. I guess that's that next new networks issue exactly, which is if they're a content creator, then they no longer can be a reliable search engine because they have a dog in that hunt.
They still could be, but they'll always be under suspicion.
Right.
That's the issue. If they say, well, really, Threadbanger is the best DIY fashion site, and somebody else says, no, I think mine's better, they find themselves in a qualitative discussion they can't really have.
Well, but they're not putting it in the actual normal search results. They're putting it above them, right? They put the place, you search for a dentist, they put the places stuff first. It is separated a little bit from the search results, isn't it?
Yeah.
In some cases, right?
Go ahead.
In some cases, if you do weather and your zip code, Google's going to answer you, right? Google's just going to try to give you the best content.
And that's appropriate.
Right, and that is absolutely appropriate. Am I upset that, or definitions, that kind of thing? Am I upset that I don't have to do another click to get a definition? No. I guess it depends.
On the other hand, if Google started doing a dictionary and American Heritage didn't show up, but Google did, then you were American Heritage, you'd be upset. It put you out of business. What Google does is, they grab, they aggregate definitions from all different online dictionaries, right, and kind of come up with the best, the best one, and that seems to be kind of the best one, right? When you do define, let's try it. What if here's a great one from our chat room again, D17R3W, which I think is his tire size. He says, "You're looking for the new Lady Gaga video. There are two versions, one on Vimeo, one on YouTube. YouTube shows up first. Identical videos. Is that okay?" It is if you're Vimeo, it's not okay. Wouldn't you be upset?
So the argument is they're already in this position. So why not?
They are already. Yeah, they already are. Yeah. And it's true that YouTube videos do show up first, don't they?
YouTube is YouTube has to be a more linked to site than Vimeo. It's a much bigger video site.
Well, here's the question.
True.
Here's a good one. Knowing how much smaller Buzz is, remember Buzz?
Yeah.
Than Twitter.
There's a good one. What if the Buzz results should have showed up higher than the Twitter results?
Or showed up at all?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a very good one. But do they? I don't know.
And the social search result, like your results from your social circle, I think that maybe Buzz shows up, but it's primarily Twitter.
Right.
Are you still using Buzz, Leo?
No, there's nobody there. And by the way, as soon as I say that, the 5 people who are there are going to flame me.
Yeah, the Buzz fans are.
You do not want to mess with them.
You don't want to mess with them.
About a month ago, when I left Buzz in a fairly loud fashion, as I am wont to do, they said, "We're going to invade your chat room and take it over and ruin things." And there was like 3 people. It's not exactly anonymous. Stephen Pearlstein writing in the Washington Post, time to loosen Google's grip. In case you hadn't noticed, Google isn't just a web search company anymore. In addition to online advertising, it's moving into operating systems, application software, mobile telephone software, email, web browsers, maps, video aggregation. Also in the process of assembling the world's biggest digital library of books and visual materials. Google portrays each line of new business as a logical extension of its core mission to expand, if you define it broadly enough, I guess everything is, to expand digital horizons in ways that allow people to use the internet to improve their lives, etc. I added the etc. It's a noble goal. Google does it very well. But how much bigger and more dominant do we want this innovative and ambitious company to become? There's nothing improper or illegal about Google's monopoly. It earned that dominance fair and square, as IBM and Microsoft did before it. Where I have a problem, however, is, and this is, again, Stephen Pearlstein writing in the Washington Post, where I have a problem, however, is in allowing Google to buy its way into new markets and new technologies, particularly when the firms being bought already have dominant positions in their respective market niches. This is the case with YouTube, DoubleClick, and AdMob. ITA software, which is really being fought right now. This is the travel software that Google spent $700 million for, under review by the Justice Department. Would have been the case with Groupon. Google apparently looking for a mini Groupon.
I still think Groupon is...
We don't get it, but we're guys.
No. Well,
and
okay,
Gina.
so I don't need my hair removed and my nails done, but...
I talked to, who did I talk to? Was it Veronica? I think it was Veronica Belmont who said, I use it every day.
Wow, really? Yeah, I'm just not I'm a tomboy. I'm just not a shopper, honestly. I checked it out recently, and I was just like, I don't know. I don't want to do a spa day with like 10 of my girlfriends. You know, it's just not my thing.
Google responded. Don Harrison, Google's deputy general counsel, responded to the Pearlstein argument. He says, as companies make build versus buy decisions, sometimes it's possible to develop a new product in-house, but other times a company decides it can bring in a new product to market faster by acquiring. He says consumers benefit from these acquisitions, like the acquisition of Keyhole, which led to the development of Google Earth, which was the first free satellite imagery application. He says, look, we're not the only one. Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook are also, spending and buying and acquiring. I don't know if I agree that there's an issue with Google making acquisitions here.
I don't think there is. I find it shocking that a guy from the business section of the Washington Post is writing that.
Come on, what do you want him to do? They got billions in cash.
Look at his own company. How is the Washington Post still afloat? Because they went beyond their business and bought Kaplan.
Right.
And they were a monopoly in Washington, D.C. It's just absurd argument.
Well,
it's this anti-Google thing now that pops up, and now it's spreading into the U.S., I think.
The terrorists are winning.
But I don't want that. See, I don't want to defend Google today because I want to be pissed at Google today because of the FCC.
Okay.
But I have to be.
Okay, you figure out what you want to be. While you're doing that, let me mention Squarespace.com. Actually, when we come back, I want to get you angry again, Jeff Jarvis, because the Wall Street Journal is back with more privacy allegations, but we'll talk about that. Oh, Jeff, we're just warming you up. Or winding you up, I guess I should say.
We need him to be green to be the Grinch.
Oh, yeah.
Green
we're all
face.
dressed, look at this, we're all dressed in black. What is that all about? We're all wearing black.
It's the most depressing twig of the year.
It is.
Happy holidays,
It's
seriously.
the most saddest twig of the year. I'll play some Glee music. It'll cheer us up.
Yeah. Good.
Boy, Sue really trashed that tree, though.
Aww.
Man, did she mess that up.
She did.
But then, and this was a little weird. All of a sudden, she gets nice at the end. Like,
yeah, time constraints.
There was a much longer
believable
script.
arc.
Yeah, there was a much longer arc somewhere, but we ran out of time. Squarespace.com, my friends, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. Go there right now, squarespace.com/twig, and take a look. It is, this is such a great company. They both hosting and software, unparalleled quality. And, I have to confess, I'm a little prejudiced because they're so nice. I love Anthony and Dane and the gang at Squarespace. They're just nice. You kind of, you love patronizing a company with people who are smart and care deeply and do the best work they can for you as a customer, and that's really where Squarespace has excelled. Just take a look at the iPhone app. Gosh, it's gorgeous. This with the stats, it allows you to post, but also allows you to review comments and block spam and so forth. Take a look at the template. Oh, and by the way, just came out for the iPad. Have you seen the new Squarespace for the iPad? It is, oh man, now this is a blogging platform. I have to say, just fantastic. This is so cool. While you're there, go to the examples and take a look at what people are doing with those incredible templates. There are 60+ designer templates, really gorgeous templates. But then on top of that, you can do anything you want with just drag and drop using Ajax. So you don't have to be a designer to get a unique, professionally designed site. And if you are a designer, if you're good with CSS and JavaScript and all that, the sky's the limit. Nothing you can't do with this. Here's my favorite. I know I'm not a shopper, but this is my favorite place to get lotions and notions, Keels. They use Squarespace for their site, and they're able to give it a unique style. This is a massive retailer, and they use it. One of the by the way, I saw them in Paris. They were also in Paris, so we can do it in French. Look at that, translated. If you are interested in getting a space for yourself, your first web page or maybe a new idea, take a look at the secret behind exceptional websites. Prices start low at $12 a month, and you could take 10% off right away by just using TWIG as the offer code, and that'll cut the price 10% for the life of your site. Everything you're looking for in hosting and software and more. Squarespace.com. Use the offer code TWIG. All right, let me see here. How can we get Jeff upset? How can we? So the Wall Street Journal. Now, this one seems reasonable to me, but I'll let you puncture it. The Wall Street Journal. Now, admittedly, in this privacy series, some of the stuff that they've come up with is just ridiculous. But they point out that a number of apps, whether it's on Android or the iPhone, like Pandora, send information that really there's no reason for that app to send about you back to their advertisers. Pandora apparently sends not only your unique identifier, but demographic information too, to 5 different advertisers. Your apps are watching you, says the Wall Street Journal. Why is that okay, Jeff?
Number one, they're not sending your phone number, and they never made that clear in the entire article. They're freaking you out, thinking they can call you and know your phone number. They're sending the phone's unique identifier, correct?
The UDID, exactly right.
Right. That's
not a phone number.
As goes with this entire series in the Journal, they're trying to lead people, down the
but Text Plus for the iPhone, this iPhone, sends your UDID, but also the phone's zip code, user's age, and gender.
Okay. Guess what? It's ad targeting.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna target the ads better, if you can, you're gonna get higher value, and we get more free stuff. And I keep saying, go offline, and you'll find this far worse. Go to Axiom, AXIOM, and try to buy names.
Oh, yeah.
And I can go to Gina's zip code, and I can ask for every woman, single, between the ages of 18 and 29, who have X income and X education, and I can then get their names and addresses and send them things. Compare that to what goes on here. What's the real harm? We got to get past this notion of merely, I don't like that, creepiness, right? Because it's actually less targeted to PII than it was in the past. And all it's really doing is giving the signals for targeted, thus higher value advertising. Well, fine. If we want to turn on, do not browse on every possible thing, then we're going to make phone companies happy because you're going to be paying up the yin-yang for stuff. You're getting this stuff free because of advertising.
But
and if It's low value. All you're going to get is dancing monkeys and no value.
Doesn't this, I mean, listen to this quote from the chipper Megan O'Halloran of Traffic Marketplace. The great thing about mobile is you can't clear a UDID like you can a cookie. That's how we track everything. Ms. O'Halloran says Traffic Marketplace, which is a unit of Epic Media Group, monitors smartphone users whenever it can. Quote, we watch what apps you download, how frequently you use them, how much time you spend on them, how deep into the app you go.
Idiots. But you know, the other problem is that
it
she's
isn't linked to
being,
it. She says the data is aggregated, not linked to an individual.
Yeah, that. And I do complain loudly, and I've done this with the industry, that they've done a god-awful job of being transparent about this stuff.
Right.
And so that's what does freak people out, and that's a problem. You know, I was just writing up the section of the book when I talked to Philip Kaplan, Pud of Blippy, and he told a story. You know, everybody comes to him and says, well, what if people could see that you bought porn? And he said, probably, A, who needs to anymore?
That just shows how stupid you are.
Right, exactly. B.
Yeah, I love pirating porn because I know both. I'm doing good things for exploited women by undermining pornographers, and I'm getting my porn for free.
There you go. That's a good justification, Leo.
So he said,
protecting those women.
You could say I'm screwing them both ways. But I wouldn't.
Oof.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So Pud decided to play with this, as is his wont, and he went to the Castro, which is the main street of gay America for the West Coast, right? And he went to the most sexual store he could find, a store called Your Mother Doesn't Know.
Oh dear.
And he bought stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so because he wanted to go to a place, people said, "So you went to a porn store? Woohoo!"
You know why?
You know, what's the big deal?
Everybody does. And in fact, this is, I think, I would guess, a big point in public parts, is that this kind of transparency just reminds us we're all the same.
Yeah.
And it's a phony, it's a very faux kind of righteousness that says, oh, porn. You know, it's the preacher who's got 3 boys in his closet.
Yeah, you're not going to be using Blippy if you're going there and you got a problem with this. You're not going to be, putting your Tiffany's purchases up if you're buying something for your mistress.
Although I have to admit,
or you're an idiot.
I forgot that I'm on Blippy.
Oh, Leo.
So I probably shouldn't go over there at this point because God only knows
40 fezzes. Why would you have that on your credit card?
God only knows what my Blippy. I kind of like Blippy because it is fun to see what people buy.
Yeah, and it now defaults to, if you left with the old default, it now defaults to approving every purchase.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Well, see, that shows that there was some sensitivity.
Well, I also know, but see, Pud also said the reason that it works out for him is he discovered that if you had to review every purchase, you are more likely to put in reviews, which gives you more data.
They've really focused on that. Yeah. In fact, they have a little game. You get to the next level if you review it and you say, well, I liked this and blah, blah, blah. And then you can also publish it. So, yeah, I think that they're actually getting quite this is a free app.
Gina, do you think
I'm
nuts about this?
Just to go back to the Wall Street Journal article, I'll admit that for a hot minute it freaked me out because I when I install apps on my Android phone and I see the list of things that it needs access to, my contacts, my location, it's not always clear why and what those apps are doing with that information. I wish that there was I wish there was an explanation. I wish that Pandora would say, hey, we need access to your contacts so you can share a playlist, so that I would know. I mean, often I just agree and assume that it's so that I know. But then again, do we ever really know what a website is doing with our data? Forget the data that travels from your phone to the advertisers. Once the web app has that data, what are they sharing with advertisers? So there's that issue. And the other issue is all the stuff that advertisers know about you when you browse from your desktop computer. I mean, it's a lot of information. I don't know if you guys have seen the EFF project, Panopticlick, where they can kind of footprint your browser based on a lot of information. Not only the user agent and the IP address, but your browser plugin details, your screen resolution, your fonts installed. And if you look, I just ran it. My browser footprint right now is unique among 1.3 million. So, they really can kind of track someone. I mean, this woman was sort of saying that she was so happy you couldn't delete your cookies so easily because people can delete their cookies on their browser. But really, it's not that hard to track usage, given some sort of unique footprint on a regular browser. So I'm with you, Jeff. Although I have to say, I when I first saw that article, I was like, oh, crap.
Do you want an interesting counter viewpoint? I thought this was, the chat room passed along a link to me to a blog by a guy named Don Marty, who is a longtime ad guy. And he said, actually, targeting's not a good thing for advertisers. It's a very interesting logic. I don't know if I can express this completely, but the point he makes is that by advertising, a company is saying, we do well enough, we're signaling to consumers that we do well enough that our advertising costs can be recovered. We are a high-quality firm. Low-quality firms don't advertise. He says the problem with targeted advertising, it's less expensive, so it doesn't signal as clearly as, say, a full-page ad in the New York Times, which is not targeted.
Well, that's kind of backwards to me. That's under that logic, then you would never do direct mail. You do nothing but billboards on the street.
Yes.
Right, just to prove that you had enough budget to do that.
Yes.
I think that's old ad agency. I mean, I got to read it myself and see, but to an extent, that's old ad agency think that says that I get paid on how much advertising I buy, and the more inefficient it is, the more I get paid.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
His blog is zgp.org/tilde Marti, if you want to read it.
Tilde.
A tilde. You don't
Old
see those
school.
much anymore,
Even
do
his
you?
URLs are old school.
I wonder if he's on tripod. Moving along, we mentioned this on TWiT. I'll just mention it for the giggle. Google's being sued by a Japanese woman for showing her underwear.
That was on her clothesline.
It was on her clothesline. Google Street View got a picture of it.
Because no one else hangs their underwear on their clothesline.
But she was so, Leo, look what
she had to move. She
had
said.
to move. She'd lose her job.
Wow.
I'd say it'd be more damaging if she didn't have any underwear.
Look, on Street View, there is nothing on her clothesline. She mustn't be wearing her knickers. No, I don't know. That's the German. I don't know what is going on. It's a fun story. We'll see.
Going commando.
Yeah, she must be going commando.
Commando.
Yeah. You will blur your clothesline from now on. I don't know if I want to talk about share spaces. Let me pause and we'll come back because Gina, I want you to address this because it really is kind of. It looks like they're kind of saving pieces of wave.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Let's talk about that in a second. Before I do that, I want to tell you what to do with your stuff. You know, the holidays are upon us. You're probably going to get a whole new pile of good stuff, and you have a lot of old stuff that you don't use anymore. What do you do with it? Well, don't sell it. Well, you could, but it's a lot easier to gazelle it. Get cash for your gadgets at gazelle.com. It's the fastest and easiest way to sell your electronics. And if it's too old to get any money, well, they'll recycle it responsibly. No parts go in the landfill. None of it goes overseas. It's all fully recycled. And I just like going to the website. You can see, look, now being sold. A Gazelle customer from West Monroe, Louisiana, just got $48 for her cell phone. I just love it. The category products in many, many, many different categories. 20 categories, 200,000 unique items. Everything from Blu-ray players to PDAs to video games to tablets. I wonder if you had like an old slate or something, if you could sell that. Who makes your item? Apple. Oh, it'd be fun if you could. I wonder what my Newton's worth. Let's say I have a 16 gigabyte Wi-Fi iPad, and I'm going to sell it because I'm getting ready for the new one. And they ask you a few basic questions. Nope, it works fine. Nope, it works well. Some squares, no noticeable flaws. Looks like it's never been used. Do you have the original goodies? By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but they've redesigned this. Look, $268 for that 16. That's great.
Jeez.
I can recover a lot of that.
I'm going to recover my marriage.
You should have done this. So here's what you do. You go through all your stuff, and they send you a mailing label. You throw it all into a box. They pay the postage. Their product experts will review it. They will remove all your data. They know how, and they will remove all your data, so you don't have to worry about that. And then they send you a check. It's great for a charity, too. Gazelle has nonprofit pages, which I think is a great idea. They call it Gazelle for Good. If you have a nonprofit or a charity, you can set up a page and have a gadget drive. Don't you love that idea?
That's great.
Yeah. I think Gazelle is a really neat company. We've been really happy to partner with them. I was skeptical. I admit it. When they first came to us, I said, well, let me try this. I thought it might be like, one of those cash for gold type of things. So we sent a bunch of stuff back, and when we got, without telling them, it was secret, we got the check. We went, wow, it works. And now I got email from people all the time, tweets saying, they sent me a bigger check than they said they were going to when they saw it. I mean, this is a really neat company.
You should have an intern do a Gazelle inventory of the cottage as you move.
Thousands and thousands of dollars worth of goodies in this cabinet alone. Oh, and wait till you see my house. I've got drawers full. We all do. Do you have one of those wire drawers where you just throw?
Yes, yeah. The wire drawer, the hardware drawer.
Yeah, you just throw crap in there. And there's like, it's like stratified. So you can see like, I can go back 10 years. Look at that. Wow, that's really sad. I'd get an intern and Gazelle it. GAZELLE.com. And by the way, I'm going to give you a little heads up here. GAZELLE.com. And you can get a 5% bonus on over and above the amount of money they promise you. So just go through the whole thing. And, use the offer code at the end when you check out, TWIG, TWIG, and they'll give you 5% plus. Just a little thank you for coming to them from This Week in Google. Don't sell it, gazelle it. Nice new website, too, by the way. All right, Gina, tell us what this shared spaces is. I saw this in the Google Wave blog, which is still around.
Which is still going, still around. Sharedspaces.googlelabs.com. So, the thing about Wave is that it was a platform, right, where you could build gadgets on top of it, kind of little mini apps. The problem was that I think the barrier to entry to Wave was so high that a lot of people just totally missed the gadgets. So Shared Spaces, and it was a third party developers could make these gadgets. So Shared Spaces is now kind of separating, decouples the gadgets from Wave and just puts them on a regular web page. And you just, you hit this button, create space, and it's things like polls or let's plan an event together, pick the dates that you're free, or mind mapping, but it's all real time with a real-time chat log kind of enabled, so people can sign in with their Google account and chat, and or lists, that kind of thing.
So look, here's a shopping list, and it's just a plug-in on this page.
Right, it's just a plug-in on that page, and you can share it with other people, and other people can log on, and you'll see their Google profile kind of icon at the top of the page, and they can edit the list at the same time, and it's got all that real-time Wave
chat at the bottom.
Goodness, and there's chat that goes on, so you can very easily kind of post a tweet or post a blog post and say, the yes, no, maybe gadget was one of my favorites. Just ask a question and get a yes, no, maybe answer. That's just a simple poll. The waffle gadget lets you plan an event. Say, hey, can you make it the 10th? The 12th or the 17th, and then people just say, these are the days that I can make it. So it makes it easy to choose a date and time. Map gadget, you can, mark off, places on a map if you're creating an event, and multiple people can do this at the same time. So really, decoupling the gadgets from Wave is a really, really good idea. It still lets these gadgets live on and people use them because a lot of developers put a lot of work into Wave extensions. So I'm really happy about this.
That's neat.
I think it was a really good idea.
That's neat. And when you're done, delete your space. I got like 800 shared spaces now. I got to delete them. So there's quite a few. So is this every gadget done for Google Wave, or how does this?
No, not every.
Quite a few.
Actually, there's quite a few. There is quite a few. And actually, I was just looking at the featured page. You can see there's productivity games. So I'm not sure how they made the decision which ones to do, but it looks like they really hit on the most popular ones.
Right.
These are certainly most of the ones that we wrote up in the book.
So maybe we should put the book back on the market.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's much easier to say go click create space rather than go into Wave and hit the plus button. This is kind of what Wave should have been, huh? Yeah, that's true.
So let's see. I'm gonna.
So there's some games.
Let's roll some dice. This is good. We could do Dungeons and Dragons. This is really neat. And I noticed it links into Buzz when you do it. So I guess that's where I don't know, maybe the tweet goes or something.
Yeah, you can share it on Buzz.
Right.
So it's a really good. So yesterday I tweeted, "Hey, do you think that shared spaces is good for Wave gadgets?" And I had 25 people come into my yes, no, maybe gadget and vote and then chat about what they thought. It was a really nice impromptu kind of get together live space.
Very cool.
So I think it was a nice reincarnation.
Like the reunion I have.
Gina, I know you need to. I know you need to take off Gina. I hate to do this to you.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Why don't you give us, before you go, give us your tip? Because actually, it's very timely. It's really almost a news story. And then we'll let you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, 2 quick tips.
Okay.
Gmail has had free calling to the U.S. and Canada from the U.S. through 2010. They've extended that through 2011. Woo! So, yeah, in Gmail, if you click on call phone in your chat window, you can dial
I think it's
US
basically
and Canada
permanent, isn't it? I mean, don't you think they'll extend it to 2012 and then on and on and on?
Possibly, but it's through 2011 for now. So that's pretty cool, and that's only for U.S. Gmail users. Second tip is really quick one. This happened the day after last week's show, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Google Maps 5.0 for Android. If you haven't gotten the update, get it. If you did get the update, check it out. It's a really great update. It's super fast. 3D buildings. I'm here in New York this week. It's amazing. You can 2-finger tilt to zoom and drag.
Do I need the satellite to get the 3D buildings? How do I do that?
No, you don't need satellite. It's just you need to be in one of the 100+ cities that they have.
So New York is one of them?
Yeah, New York is one of them. Yeah.
All right. So if I search for New York, I'm now in New York, and I zoom in.
And if you go zoom in and down into Manhattan, you will start seeing 3D buildings.
Wow.
And if you use it should, and it's super fast. These are vector drawings now,
Look
so they're
how
not
fast
those tiles.
Right. Oh, there we go. There's some 3D.
There you go. And so now do the 2-finger drag to tilt, and you can see kind of a yeah. There you go. Yeah. It's pretty neat. So and that works offline as well. If your phone is offline, it works.
It's amazing. If it's cached them. I mean, I imagine at some point it has to cache them.
Yeah, if it's cached. But it used to be that Google Maps was these tiles, these little images that would kind of tile together and download as you scroll. It's not that anymore. It's just these vector images which are much smaller. It's amazing. Is it? Look, it's making Leo so happy.
As I go through Manhattan, yeah, these buildings pop up. Boy, they somebody they put a lot of SketchUp artists to work doing this. Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Holy cow.
It's true.
Isn't that neat?
It's true.
Yeah. Marissa showed this at Le Web, but it didn't work for Paris, unfortunately.
They're also bringing in subway routes, which is a wonderful thing for us real people who have to take subways and trains and things.
Yeah.
Unlike you.
Yes.
Californians.
What's a train? So absolutely, it's free. Not yet on the iPhone, but I think they said pretty soon, right?
Soon.
Good,
Yep.
Good.
And we're still waiting for Gingerbread, us Nexus 1 users, or lowly Nexus 1
I love
users.
the Nexus S. I love the Nexus S. Big 4-inch screen, AMOLED. You could upgrade.
I know. I should just do it right.
Just upgrade.
I fondled a couple of my friends.
There's some things missing that I kind of are weird on this phone. There's no notification light, which is kind of strange, and you can't put an SD card in it. But it does
and
have
they switched the home and the search buttons.
Yeah, that drives me nuts that nobody's figured out the order here. So yeah, home is now on the far right and search is in the middle.
Oh Jesus!
I was in Best Buy. I kept tapping the search button. I was like, no.
It's taken me a while to get used to it. On the other hand, boy, and I think this is mostly Gingerbread. Gingerbread is a lot faster. Once you get Gingerbread on your Nexus 1, you may not care. I mean, it's so much faster.
Yeah.
It's just great. Yeah. All right, Gina, thank you so much. Gina Trapani is at smarterware.org. She also has a great program called Think Up.
ThinkUpApp.com.
And
have fantastic holidays. I'll see you both next year.
Yay.
And I can't wait to watch the best of. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. I think, as I mentioned, a little Glee, a little Chipotle. It should be awesome. Bye, Gina.
Yay. Take care, guys.
Gina Trapani, everybody. Arrivederci. Oh, and by the way, and I should mention that we have been using Google Talk for this because Skype has been down all day, and Google Talk's doing a great job. Now, I can add Kevin Marks, I think. Let me see if I can add Kevin Marks.
Oh, good. Kevin was tweeting.
Yeah, and I think now that because I only had one machine that had Google Talk ready to run on it, so I'm going to call him right now and see if he'll come on and replace. There he is. Look at that.
Am I there? Excellent.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for doing this. I'm sorry we couldn't get you on sooner. I only upgraded 2 machines to use GTalk. I have to say this is working pretty well.
Yeah.
Kevin works for British Telecom, Ribbit.com. I wonder what your thoughts are on this Skype outage.
Well, it's fascinating. We've had this thing over the last week where we've seen a lot more single points of failure in the internet than we were expecting.
Yes, all in 1 week.
The WikiLeaks thing exposed that, where suddenly there were using Amazon and their DNS provider to shut them down. Seeing Skype fall over like this. I think what Skype said was it was some of the supernodes were failing. So the way the Skype is a peer-to-peer thing, and some clients end up becoming supernodes as switching points for each other. You'll notice as if you use Skype on a fat connection, suddenly it's using a lot of CPU because it's routing other people's calls for them.
Right.
And they had something. What they said was they had a bug in one of their releases that meant they stopped working as supernodes, and so therefore the network became fragmented.
And they've been creating mega supernodes rapidly to kind of take up the slack. Well, thank goodness this is the first time we've actually used GTalk video, and actually I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it is appropriate.
I know you've been watching. In fact, you've been sending links along. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. For those who don't know, Kevin is a former Googler himself and former Apple guy. And he's now at British Telecom, as I mentioned, at Ribbit.com. And we just love having Kevin on whenever we can. So I'm very glad that you could step in the breach. Any thoughts on anything we've talked about so far, including the net neutrality thing? The
net neutrality thing, I think, as Jeff said, the fundamental principle here is what you need is structural separation, so there's actual competition. That's the way that it's regulated in the UK. The piece of BT that provides the fundamental connectivity sells to the rest of BT and to every other company at the exact same price, and there's a sort of Chinese, there's a firewall between them. They're a separate company. And as a BT employee, I'm not allowed to talk to them in any way that amounts to collusion. So there's that, and that way, the way that's set up, that means that the actual ISP part is very competitive. And this, this was BT had most of the plant, the in the ground plant in the UK when it was privatized, and so what they set it up in this way so that it was easier for competitors to work with that. And there was some of that in the previous Telecom Act, and that basically got sort of smushed away by regulation. So it used to be able to, in the DSL day, be able to have multiple ISPs that were all routing through the same tech, but then they changed the regulation basis for the internet in the US so that was no longer true, and we now have these local monopolies. And that, so the net neutrality rules are a sort of a patch on the fact that there are local monopolies, and we'd be better off enabling more competition at that level, either by enforcing structural separation if there is a monopoly, or by not granting monopolies but allowing more competition, allowing more people to run cables, and more rights to run fiber and ducts to the home. So that's that's the sort of deep problem. And so the net neutrality rules are an attempt to work around that.
So, in short, you think that these rules are adequate? I mean, you work for a mobile carrier, so
no. Well, we're not actually a mobile carrier. Which
all right,
is interesting.
That's a good point. Okay, do you feel that mobile carriers have a reasonable complaint that they're different in terms of their infrastructure than land-based ISPs?
Well, they are different, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to. They need to be favored. Again, the build-out tends to be more expensive, but again, there is slightly more competition there in that there are multiple carriers at any given point. In any given point, there can be.
Right.
But
competition solves all of this, of course.
Competition solves it broadly, but the real problem that the mobile carriers have is that their model was a call-based model, not a data-based model. And what we've seen in the larger cities, San Francisco and New York, is that they weren't expecting that much data, and they've got to scramble to build new. And they're actually telling people to use Wi-Fi instead.
Right.
And in my head, that's a good thing. I think more Wi-Fi is good. And Wi-Fi is actually a universal standard that does work. This is the sort of fascinating thing that it's displacing a lot of the mobile use because it's actually higher bandwidth and much more targeted because it is very distributed. We've all deployed it ourselves. We've all bought base stations and scattered them around the place where we happen to be. So,
go ahead.
So I don't think they should be distinguishing between the two. I think we do want to have neutrality on the mobile as well.
Especially since we're using it more and more and more as our primary
That's where the
means.
innovation is going to be.
Yeah. And if you look at the stuff you're doing with the Android, with the mapping stuff, that is enormously useful and very valuable. That's to some extent, when Google built Android, they built the assumption in that you would always be connected, because that's the way Google works. The assumption is.
By the way, if you want to know about that, and you have latitude turned on, and I know you both do, go look at your latitude history. It's a little terrifying.
I think I turned history on. But
yeah, you might want to turn it off if you have anything to hide anyway. I was kind of shocked. It knows everywhere I've been and keeps stats on it.
Yes.
And it says, oh, over the last year, this is where you've been. This is where it's kind of shocking, frankly. Yes, you're right. They intend for this always to be on and watching at all times
because they want you to be able to search all the time. That's the value for them.
Right.
If you're walking around using a device and it's not connected, that's not as valuable to them as if it is.
Right. By the way, that dashboard thing is great. That's how I found out about this, by reading my dashboard.
There you are.
Yeah, that's me. And by the way, you want to know where I've been? Here is everything for... we can only display the most recent 500 locations. And they will give you a graph. They will give you all sorts of interesting information. It's kind of amazing about where you've been and when. And at first I thought, hey, this is great. If I ever get busted for murder, I could say, and then they say, where were you on the evening of December 22nd? I can say, well, just check with my latitude. But then I realized it really isn't where I was, it's where my phone was.
Well, also, I mean, there's a distinction here. I like to make the Harry Potter analogy, is that in Harry Potter there are two geolocation metaphors. There's the Marauder's map, which they use in the school to show you where everyone is, and you see little dots moving around.
Right.
And then there's the Weasley's clock, which is the clock they have in their house that says they're at work, they're at home, they're in mortal peril, they're at Hogwarts or whatever. So it's a sort of a known location indicator. And the problem is that latitude is way closer to the Marauder's map, which is this creepy "we can see everywhere you are" thing, than it is to that. Are they at home? Are they at work? Are they somewhere safe?
Right.
And that's that if you think about the difference between those two worldviews is the difference between geo stuff that you feel comfortable with and geo stuff that makes you nervous. And what we're seeing with Foursquare and the ones that explicitly let you check in is you're basically saying, I'm at work, I'm at home, I'm at the bar, I'm somewhere safe, which is much closer to that sort of comfort model than this we'll track you all the time and pin you down thing.
By the way,
it's like the difference between Beacon and Blippy.
Right.
Beacon kind of snuck up on you, and Blippy, exactly, well, except for everybody except for Leo, knows exactly what you're doing.
Look at this. It says, here's a pie chart. How do I spend my time? Work, home, spent out. And this is an amazing. These are all the places I've spent. I spent 29 hours at home last week.
I don't see enough Chipotle there.
This is. If you have latitude turned on, go to your dashboard. You might want to just think about what you've got, what you're telling.
I'll have a look at that after the show.
Yeah, you didn't know, did you?
No, I think I didn't turn on the actual tracking.
Yeah. Actually, it's fascinating. At first I went, I want to turn this off, and this is a tribute to Jeff. Then I turned it on, and I said, no, I think this is kind of cool. I got nothing to hide.
Well, this is the tension is, who has access to this?
Right.
This is the sort of the core of things.
And they say very specifically, only you have access to this aggregated information.
Right. But you and Google and whoever you author use.
Well, and a cop with a subpoena.
Right. Oh, never mind.
Right. To your monk.
But this is the tricky part of this, which is what we're seeing is that people are starting to realize that they want to have they want to introspect, they want to see where they've been, they want to do this stuff for themselves, but making sure that someone else has that. Is the way to do it is a problem. The flap last week was around Delicious closing down,
right?
And suddenly people were saying, "Wait, I'm going to lose all my links. I was I was invested in that,
right?"
And Yahoo has now said they're not going to close; they want to sell it or whatever. But there was suddenly this I've invested all my stuff in that place, that thing there. And this is it's the same. This is a similar challenge with when Google shut down Dodgeball or if I've got everything in Twitter or if I've got everything in Facebook, and then they suddenly shut down my account, then you've got a problem. And that's we've had stories that happen to people.
Paul Buchheit, who of course tweeted that he didn't think Chrome OS was going anywhere
Right.
People are starting to say, "Oh, you're anti-Google." He posted a blog post. I thought it was an excellent blog post. 4 reasons Google is still awesome.
Good.
And, you know, we don't say this enough. And I know, Jeff, we were a little upset with Google at the beginning of the show because of their stance on net neutrality. But let's not forget, Google, this is number one, point number one. They take big risks.
Yeah.
People say, he says, people point to projects like Wave as evidence that Google's lost its magic or something. To me, it's evidence they're still willing to take risks on new ideas and new ways of doing things. Number two, they're willing to build new technology seemingly unrelated to the core business, things like autonomous cars. And boy, thank goodness that there's somebody out there who's willing to do blue sky research just because they're interested in that. He said, from an employee perspective, these non-core projects are also an opportunity for greater autonomy. Part of what made the Gmail project so fun, Paul was one of the creators of Gmail, is that we had a lot of independence and could pursue ideas that other people inside Google thought were, quote, the wrong way to do it. Most other tech companies don't offer that kind of freedom. Number three, they compete in positive ways. Google's weapon of choice is more often open source and open standards, not closed standards. They don't try to weaken open. And in fact, the criticism they get for Android, I'm adding this, really comes from the fact that they were kind of said, we're going to make it open.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, they don't seem to mind honest criticism. And I will say that because I tell you, we went to Google and we're oftentimes critical of Google on this show, and they embraced us as if we were, you know, never critical. They understand.
That's really true. And Eric Schmidt, when I interviewed him for the book, he'd just gone through the Times Square hell and what he calls death by Twitter. And he says, listen, we want criticism. We just want a paragraph, not a sentence.
Right.
We want it to be
thorough.
Reasoned and thorough and smart, and then that's valuable to us. And they mean it. They really do.
Good for Paul for writing that. You agree with his analysis, Kevin, because you worked there.
Yeah, no, I think he sums that up well. The open standards focus is very important there,
yes,
and they've said that in public.
Yes.
Someone in chat was saying Android isn't open, and Android has two halves to it. I think I've said this before on the show, but there's the fully open source piece of Android, which means it can be deployed to everything, which is fascinating. And then there's the other half, which is the with Google part, which is the apps that are proprietary to Google and are included with the phone, like the navigation stuff, the maps that you were showing off. And so they have they've got two pieces to this very deliberately.
Yeah,
so
and there's good reasons why that's proprietary. Yeah. There's all sorts of proprietary technology.
There is a mixture of reasons, but what it means is that they can provide some kind of we will only put the with Google on it if it satisfies these criteria, and they can set those criteria, but they're not actually preventing people building other devices. So I've got my wacky Chinese $50
and it's running Android because it's
running Android
open
because it's free. And I bought this random thing in the this was $10. It's an MP3 player, MP4 player.
$10.
It's not running Android yet. Next year these things will be. It was in the hardware store. They had a box and I thought, wow. So the thing that Android is this sort of the open piece of Android is this very powerful force that is going to permeate consumer electronics next year, even more than it already has. We're already seeing it. Everyone's building on it in that way.
Right, not just permeate it, Kevin, but I think also connect things that weren't connected before.
Yes, exactly. That's the other piece is that this $10 thing doesn't have an internet connection, but it has a USB, so I can plug it in that way. But you can imagine them adding Wi-Fi and things to these as they go. But the other thing is that. My prediction is we will see someone else replace the closed half of Android. So they will provide replacements for the contact management, the mapping, the other specific Google-specific apps that are baked into that. And there are a bunch of companies that might do this and could do this. Facebook is an obvious one. Twitter is another one. But you could see somebody like Yahoo or Microsoft even doing this, saying, okay, we'll take the open source piece, we'll swap out the bits on the top. And we've had hints of that already with the Verizon Androids that search Bing instead of Google because they were able to do that. That's going to be fascinating, and that's something that's going to get more interesting over time. There were hints of that in the Chrome announcement as well. When they launched Chrome, they said, well, at the moment you have to log in with a Google account, but we could potentially log in with other things in the future. That's another sort of potential marker there. If they hold true to the openness of their stuff,
That's interesting. It could be the Facebook OS at some point. In some ways,
it could be. It could have the Facebook set of apps on top of that OS.
Right.
So that's possible.
Wow.
And if we get the open standards pieces right, that will be viable, and that will be useful. That would mean that we're not sort of blocked to one source in future. You suddenly find you don't have a single point of failure like Skype going down on you. You're able to connect through different systems that are closer to the original vision of the internet. That's that's the big challenge we're seeing at the moment, is that we're seeing that there are all these sort of points of control in the internet that have grown up because through habit and through programmer habit as well. We're now used to the idea of things not running directly on the edges, but always having to talk to a server to communicate. Right, the model of I've got a web browser and I've got, but the real stuff happens on a server because the servers have real IP addresses and your client only has pretend ones. And that architecture is now sort of permeated the net because we were short of real IP addresses, and because laptops and phones change their IP addresses depending on where they are. But I suspect we're going to start seeing some pushback on that over the next year, where we re-architect so that you can actually run stuff directly from the edge, from your edge clients to other edge clients, without having to route through central servers. But that's we're seeing sort of markers of this in some of the things that have been going wrong and failing this week, and that will trigger the engineers to go, wait, weren't we supposed to fix that a long time ago? Why does everything have to be centralized?
It's a self-healing thing, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
At least as long as the humans pay attention. I'm so glad you joined us, Kevin. We're actually running out of time. We're running a little bit late here. So let me get to our final words here, which start with Jeff Jarvis and his numbers of the week.
I got numbers. Numbers. We got numbers. Well, some quick ones. Gina contributed this one, which is the tabs for charity, which I don't fully understand, but they got 60 million tabs for charity on Chrome. And you can look that up at chrome.blogspot.com.
60 million I don't understand.
I don't either, and I tried to read it, but I just actually paying attention to you guys. So
big mistake.
So
there's your problem right now. This is they've actually raised essentially equivalent of $1 million by opening tabs in Chrome.
I don't get how that connects, but that's fun. I'm glad they raised $1 million.
That's fantastic.
Then we have 300,000. San Francisco has 300,000 Facebook fans more than LA and New York.
Of course.
Okay. Of
course. That's just obvious.
LA has 200,000. Poor New York, because we don't play along like this, has 10,000.
Hey, what do you want? I don't got no like button for you. Hey, if you had an A button.
Yeah. You got a problem with that?
Yeah.
And then we got 1 million Apple TVs sold.
Yeah. And 1 million Roku boxes, they say, before the end of the year.
That's great.
Just shows we're really connecting to the internet.
However, now that net neutrality has changed, we won't be able to use any of them.
We played with my tool on... That didn't come out right at all. We played with this on TWiT this week, and we had a lot of fun. This is a joint project, I think, with Harvard and Google Books, to take and analyze all the contents of the Google Books and create n-grams, arbitrary n-grams from data in Google Books. And, you can do your own if you want. Just take any number of arbitrary comma-separated phrases. Let's say Chipotle, Taco Bell, and McDonald's. I don't know how good this is going to be. Remember, these are from books, Google Books. I don't think there were a lot of mentions of Chipotle before 1990, but anyway. And yes, it certainly went through the roof. But look at that Chipotle number. Whoa! Compared to McDonald's, which is green, and Taco Bell, which is way down there. So obviously, at least in the Google Books Ngram viewer, Chipotle is a big winner.
And our our listeners, viewers are starting to lobby Chipotle tweets for sponsoring the show.
They don't have to sponsor the show. They just have to cater it. we want a Chipotle bowl delivered to each host right at 1 o'clock every Wednesday afternoon, 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can watch us at live.twit.tv. Jeff Jarvis is buzzing at buzzmachine.com, also the author of a great book called What Would Google Do? And his new book, Public Parks. He's working on it right now. Kevin Marks is at ribbit.com. Thank you for joining in, Kevin. It's always great to hear from you. We're going to get you on a full show
Good to see you.
soon. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kevin. And we will end with something Matt Cutts put together with his team. They call it the 12 Days of Googlemas. Jeff, have a great holiday, great New Year.
You too, boss.
We're off next week. We will have a best of episode. We will be back doing this show January, what is that, 3rd, 5th, the day before we head off to CES at live.twit.tv. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy holidays, Kevin. It's great to have you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the 12 Days of Googlemas.
On the 12th day of Googlemas, my Googlebot gave to me 12 optimized titles, 11 local listings, 10 sitemaps submitted, 9 bloggers linking, 8 site links showing, 7 Google Trends, 6 social signals, 5 followed links, 4 404s fixed, 3 301s, 2 indented listings, and a first place organic ranking. Season's greetings from Search Engine Land and Google.
That's Danny Sullivan on the left and Matt Cutts on the right. And singers, they're not.